Pirates. The word instantly conjures visions of creaking ships, black flags whipping in the wind, and secret maps marked with a bold X promising fortune untold. For centuries, stories have captivated us with the notion that pirates roamed the seas, plundering gold, silver, and jewels, only to bury their riches on hidden islands for safekeeping. But how much of this image was based on reality, and how much was the invention of novelists, sailors' tales, and popular imagination? Did pirates truly bury treasure, or does the truth lie in a far different interpretation of their lives and crimes? To understand the origins of the buried treasure myth, it is important to look at the period historians call the Golden Age of Piracy. This era stretched from the 1600s into the early 1700s, when lawless mariners preyed on ships across the Atlantic, the Caribbean, and parts of the Indian Ocean. These pirates were often former sailors, privateers, or even naval officers who turned to crime when legitimate opportunities failed them. Their plunder included more than gold. Ships often carried goods like sugar, cocoa, tobacco, textiles, and tools, which could be resold for profit in bustling port towns. Piracy was as much about survival as it was about riches. Yet, at the heart of the mythology, the idea of buried treasure endured, despite the reality that actual pirate loot often looked more like barrels of molasses than piles of coins. The enduring image of buried treasure owes much to works of fiction rather than historical reality. Writers like Robert Louis Stevenson, through stories such as the classic tale of treasure maps and daring voyages, cemented the idea of pirates hiding their wealth under the sand, waiting decades for seekers to uncover it. These imaginative narratives built upon older legends and seafarer folklore, where tales of hidden caches provided excitement to sailors' conversations during long and uncertain ocean crossings. By the 18th and 19th centuries, the buried treasure myth had already become ingrained into Western culture, shaping how generations thought about piracy. The reality of pirate loot was far less romantic than the legends. Most pirate captures consisted of perishable goods and trade cargo, rather than heaps of gold and silver. Records from captured ships show inventories filled with rum, spices, cloth, flour, or livestock. Gold coins and precious metals certainly existed in circulation, particularly when treasure fleets carrying wealth from the New World sailed toward Spain, but seizing such shipments was rare and risky. What pirates gained from plundering ordinary merchant vessels was much more practical, goods they could immediately trade for provisions, repairs, or wages. This practical approach challenges the very notion that pirates needed to bury treasure at all. Yet despite the scarcity of evidence, there were a few instances where pirates or their associated crews did hide valuables. The most famous example often cited is that of Captain William Kidd, who sailed in the late 17th century. Kidd, once commissioned as a privateer, faced accusations of piracy when his allegiance to England wavered. It is said he buried part of his treasure on an island off the coast of New York, hoping to use it later as leverage for a pardon. Historical records confirm that authorities recovered some of this treasure, providing the rare example of a pirate physically burying his spoils. Still, Kidd's actions were far from common, and historians emphasize that his situation was unusual rather than representative of pirate culture as a whole. One of the strongest arguments against the notion of buried treasure is the way pirate society functioned economically. Life at sea was brutal and uncertain. Disease, battles, and storms could take lives quickly, and a captain's control over his crew depended on immediate rewards. For this reason, once a ship was captured, the loot was typically divided up on the spot according to shares. Each crew member received a portion, while extra shares went to the captain and officers. This ensured fairness and loyalty in a workforce known for its volatility. Delaying these payments by burying wealth in secret hiding places would have risked mutiny or flight. The system demanded instant gratification, not long-term investment in treasure chests under the sand. It is important, however, to understand why the idea of buried treasure made such sense to people of the time. Spain's empire regularly shipped tons of silver and gold from its colonies in the Americas back to Europe. These so-called treasure fleets carried enormous wealth, guarded fiercely but tantalizing to pirates and privateers alike. On the rare occasions when a naval vessel or merchant ship laden with coins was seized, the notion of hidden riches seemed plausible. Add to this the real stories of shipwrecks, where storms sent treasure-laden galleons to the ocean floor, and it becomes clear why legends of lost and buried wealth flourished. While pirates may not have buried treasure, nature itself hid vast fortunes beneath the sea, inspiring centuries of speculation. The familiar vision of a map with a giant X marking the spot can be traced more to fiction than fact. There is little evidence that pirates ever drew maps to guide back to treasures. For men who often lived short, dangerous lives, there was little reason to create records that could be lost or stolen. Yet the image of the treasure map became central to pirate lore thanks to adventure novels and children's stories in the 19th century. These tales not only entertained, but also created an enduring visual shorthand for the entire pirate era, one still recognizable in popular culture today. Modern archaeological studies lend further perspective to the myth. Shipwrecks on the ocean floor often reveal the true cargoes of these vessels, and while researchers have uncovered coins, ingots, and jewels, they have also found a much larger presence of everyday goods. Excavations of pirate havens in the Caribbean uncover pottery shards, weaponry, tobacco pipes, and personal items, painting a realistic picture of their daily lives, rather than confirming fantasies about chests overflowing with gold. These findings help cut through the romance of pirate myths, replacing them with tangible evidence of how these outlaw sailors actually lived and operated. Still, legends of buried treasure have persisted for centuries, drawing explorers, fortune seekers, and adventurers to remote beaches and unexplored corners of coastlines. The idea that untold riches might still lie beneath the earth or in underwater caverns continues to capture public imagination. From hoaxes to elaborate treasure hunts, stories of lost pirate gold have inspired generations to dream of discovery, even when historical proof remains sparse. The few exceptional cases, combined with the lure of mystery, ensured that the myth of hidden treasure became one of the defining legacies of piracy in cultural memory. The question of whether pirates really buried treasure reveals much about the difference between history and legend. Evidence shows that pirates did not typically bury their loot, since their practical needs and brutal lives demanded immediate profit. Exceptions like William Kidd only prove how unusual such acts were. Yet mythology, literature, and the enduring allure of hidden riches have ensured that the concept of pirates burying treasure remains carved into our collective imagination. In reality, their true treasure was far less glamorous, but no less important to their survival. The myth continues, not because it reflects daily life, but because it embodies the timeless human fascination with adventure, danger, and the hope of discovering wealth hidden just beyond our reach.